The board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Present.
Alderman Aldenberg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Balmer. Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Sanier. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Browning.
Present.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd.
Present.
Alderman Aldridge. President Green.
Present.
Alderman Aldenberg. Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Sanier. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderwoman Keys. 10 present, you have quorum.
A quorum being present, we will dispense with line items number 3 and 4. Any introduction of honored guests? Any introduction of honored guests? Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I have a few honored guests today. In the balcony today, we have, of course, 14th Ward resident, Sheriff of the City of St. Louis, Vernon Betts. I have some residents that are here today, but also watching online from St. Louis Place and JVL Neighborhood Association that have been working very hard to help me on a piece of legislation that hopefully we third read and pass. So I want to thank Brian and many others from the JVL in St. Louis Place, Virginia Drury, Mr. and Mrs. Alexander. And then I have a very, very, very special guest today. She's a legend in not just the 14th Ward, but in the city of St. Louis. She has an amazing business that sits on St. Louis Avenue, the Griot Black History Museum. I couldn't even get it already out. They know how great she is. Ms. Lois Conway, she just does a lot of amazing work for our community. There's a surprise coming at the end of the month that will be happening, which will be televised, and I just want to thank her for all the work that she does for not just the 14th Ward, but educating people on what Black history is all about and keeping her doors open. So to all my honor guests, thank you, but especially to Ms. Lois Conway. Today is your day, and we're so happy to have you here today.
Alderwoman from the 13th.
Thank you, Madam President and the board. My honored guest is St. Louis Public School Board. We're celebrating Public School Board Week. And so I want to congratulate them and recognize them for the hard work that they have been doing with St. Louis Public Schools.
Any further introduction of honored guests? Alderman from the 14th.
And I forgot one. So sorry about that, Madam President, members of the board. So my other special guest is one of our youngest, just amazing individuals. Hopefully, maybe he'll be like director of comms in 20 years from now for a future president. Today we have Yusuf Danshire, itty bitty one that looks just like him, Rami Danshire, who's holding I think a beautiful elephant. So if the board can make Rami Danshire feel welcome at the board, we'd greatly appreciate it. He may be running around here shortly. So.
You stole my thunder, Alderman from the 14th. I was going to do that. But yes, let's all make Rami our special guest today for his first board meeting. Any further introduction of honored guests? Any further introduction of honored guests? Seeing none, Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the approval of the minutes from Friday, February 9th, 2020.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we approve the minutes from Friday, February 9th, 2024.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we approve the minutes from Friday, February 9th, 2024. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in A, B, and C. The agenda has been placed in the Google Drive for your review.
Does anyone wish to take any bills or resolutions off of any of our informal calendar? Anyone wish to take any bills or resolutions off of any of our informal calendars? Anyone wish to take any bills or resolutions off of any of our informal calendars? Seeing none, we can dispense with line items 9, 10, and 11. First reading on board bills.
Board Bill 216, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets pursuant to ordinance number 70333, as amended by ordinance number 71394, to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic on the 700, 800, and 900 blocks of Bell Avenue. Board Bill 217, sponsored by Alderwoman Schweitzer, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 69955, codified as Chapter 3.11.120 of the Revised Code of the City of St. Louis in lieu thereof, enacting a new ordinance to a complete streets policy for the City of St. Louis relating to the standards and guiding principles for the planning, design, construction, or reconstruction of any public right-of-way to consider all users, containing provisions for contractors relating to the blocking and closures of public right-of-way, containing the severability clause. That's the extent of first reading of board bills.
Madam Clerk, if you could please add me as a co-sponsor to 217.
So noted.
Reference to committees of board bills.
To the Public Infrastructure and Utilities Committee, Board Bill 216 and 217. That's the extent of reference to committee.
Second reading, a report of standing committees.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 14, report of special committees.
We have none.
Please dispense with line item 15, board bills for perfection consent.
Board Bill 195, sponsored by Alderman Aldridge, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan dated November 14th, 2023 for the 1902 through 1904 Dodier Street area. Board Bill 208, sponsored by Alderwoman Schweitzer, and Board Bill authorizing and directing the mayor and the comptroller of the City of St. Louis to execute a permanent irrevocable easement which shall give, grant, extend, and confer on the Metropolitan St. Louis Sewer District, its agents, successors, and assigns the exclusive rights to build and maintain a sewer or sewers, including stormwater improvements on the strip or strips of the grounded description in Lot A of Bellcrest Plat Book containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 209, sponsored by Alderwoman Sanye, pursuant to ordinance number 70333, as amended by ordinance number 71394, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic on Tennessee Avenue in the 7th Ward. That's the extent of board bills for perfection consent calendar.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to adopt the board bills for the perfection consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I move that we adopt the board bills for perfection consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we adopt the board bills for the perfection consent calendar. Any discussion? Alderman from the 14th.
I know this may not be the right time, but can I be added as a co-sponsor to Board Bill 208, Madam?
Sorry, which number?
208, the complete streets.
208.
217, sorry.
217. Okay, previously back at first reading of board bills. Madam Clerk, please make note of that.
So noted.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we adopt the board bills for the perfection consent calendar. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries. Board bills for perfection.
Board Bill 198, committee sub, sponsored by Alderwoman Sanye, President Green, and Alderman Cone. An ordinance adding to Section 3 of Ordinance Number 71620, codified in Chapter 3.160 of the City of St. Louis Revised Code of Ordinance, to include a new subsection, Chapter 3.160.030, requiring the applicants for development tax incentives be current in the payment of all city property and earning taxes, and the applicants be current in the payment of bills of water or refuse services provided by the city at the time of applications for tax incentives.
Alderwoman from the 7th, you are recognized on the perfection of Board Bill 198 committee substitute.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Ta-da! It's a very simple bill and a bill that I'm quite excited
Would you like to make a motion to perfect 198 committee
Yes,
substitute?
I make a motion to perfect 198 committee substitute.
Is there a second? It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 7th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we perfect Board Bill number 198 committee substitute. Alderwoman, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Ta-da! Ta-da is a bill that I'm quite excited about. It's really a common sense development bill that requires that developers are in good standing in order to receive, in their taxes, in order to receive tax incentives. It was worked on with the Collector of Revenue's office as well as St. Louis Development Corporation, and I think we've worked out something here that goes really well. It is Black History Month, everything Black History Month, and so, you know, this is a bill that's important because we know that 60% of these funds belong to our public schools, and we also know that the other 40% of our funds help us to fund essential services for our city. We know that there are residents who have lost their homes for less than $1,000, and so we want to make sure that all of us have the same rules. And as the Collector of Revenue said, Greg Daly, good partners pay their taxes.
Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 12th.
Madam President, members of the board, I rise in support of this board bill. Actually, if you will notice, I have Board Bill 30 that has been rioting the docket for some time. And the reason is because when I took it before HUDs, they voted it out with my assurance that I would not move the bill until they became either current with their taxes or that they were in some kind of payment plan. I want this development in my ward in the best kind of way. North St. Louis needs development, but I have always been an opponent of taking school taxes to my own detriment politically. And if we don't hold people to standards, and we continue to give away tax dollars, that's a mistake, and this is a good bill. And I especially want to point out that it doesn't have to be that you are current. You can also be in a payment plan, which you are trying to get current, and that's a fair compromise, and I support this bill. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 7th, you're recognized to close.
Thank you, Madam President. I think Alderwoman Tyus did a great job there, just kind of pointing out some things that I didn't mention. Again, this is a common sense bill, and it makes sure that we all have the same rules, and it makes sure that us as, you know, elected representatives are being smart and responsible fiscally, especially as we think about some of the decisions that may be coming our way in regards to taxes.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 7th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we perfect Board Bill number 98 committee. Oh, sorry, Alderman from the 3rd. Did not see you there.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to commend the Alderwoman from the 7th, on her efforts here. As someone who has long been a champion for incentive reform in the city, this is a welcome addition to the toolkit that we have in the city of St. Louis with SLDC. And I thought I was added as a co-sponsor to the bill. I just want to make sure that the clerk ensures that I am.
Yeah, on my version, you're a co-sponsor.
Thank you.
Alderwoman from the 1st.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I echo the comments of the Alderman from the 3rd and would also like to be added as a co-sponsor. Thanks to the Alderwoman from the 7th on her work on this and working so diligently to make sure that the folks who administer these programs were heard and plugged in, and the most efficient product was what we ended up with today. So thank you so much.
Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Alderman from the 4th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I want to commend the sponsor of this. This is a common sense bill that, like she said, puts us all on a level playing field, and I would move that we move this bill in bank.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 4th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we make Board Bill number 198 committee substitute bank. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. 198 committee substitute is now in bank. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, it's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 7th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we perfect Board Bill number 198 committee substitute. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Board Bill 60 committee sub, sponsored by Alderman Narayan, President Green, and Alderwoman Velazquez, an ordinance pertaining to the excise laws of the City of St. Louis, repealing ordinance number 66271, 66227, 64643, 63129, 62656, 62940, 62422, and 61289, presently codified as Title 14 of the Revised Code of the City of St. Louis, having as their subject matter definitions established by the Excise Division, general regulations, general violation, general licenses, manufacturers, wholesale, distributors, retail licenses, non-intoxicating beer licenses, license transfer, and enacting in lieu thereof a new ordinance pertaining to the same subject matter containing a severability, emergency, and a penalty clause.
Alderman from the 4th, you are recognized on the perfection of Board Bill 60 committee substitute.
It would help if I turned on my microphone. Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. For Board Bill 60 committee substitute, I believe that the votes are there today, but I've been discussing this with many of my colleagues. I always say that the discussion on these isn't over until the mayor signs it. We've gotten additional community feedback, and I want to incorporate that into the bill. So at this point, I'd like to hold it for a week. I would like to move this to the informal calendar, please.
Madam Clerk, if you could please place Board Bill 60 committee substitute on the informal calendar. All right, Alderman from the 4th.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, being on the prevailing side of Board Bill number 144 as amended, I move that we reconsider the perfection.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 4th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we reconsider the perfection of Board Bill number 144 as amended. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Ryan.
Aye.
Alderman Balmer. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Sanier. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Browning.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Aldridge. President Green.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Sanier. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderwoman Keys.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Sanier. Alderwoman Spencer. "12 aye votes and 1 no vote.
By your vote, you sustain the motion to reconsider Board Bill number 144 as amended. Alderman from the 4th, you are now recognized on the perfection of Board Bill number 144 as amended.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Board Bill 144, if you remember from last week's discussion, is the board bill about retirement age. I know we were dealing with two different pension bills regarding the firefighters. This is the one with the 30 years of service. After discussion, after perfection last week, there were a couple of issues that
Alderman, did you want to make that motion?
Excuse me. Yes, I move that we re-perfect Board Bill number 144 as amended.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 4th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we perfect Board Bill number 144 as amended. Alderman, you now proceed with your discourse.
Thank you, Madam President. I apologize for that. So ditto everything I just said. And we're going to, my hope is that we're going to adopt these two amendments just to clean up this language. There were some concerns that there would be some retroactive benefits that were not, neither the firefighters nor the administration was trying to do this. I stood up and said over and over, this is about 38 individuals. This ensures that this is about those 38 individuals. It's just more clarifying language. And so with that, I would ask for your favorable consideration, and I move that we adopt amendment number 1 and 2 to Board Bill number 144 as amended.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 4th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we adopt amendments number 1 and 2 to Board Bill 144 as amended. Any discussion? Alderwoman from the 12th.
Madam President, members of the board, I have a point of order, and I'm sorry because I was talking, and I like to watch what's going on. Did we do a motion to move this back to the perfection?
Yes, we did.
Okay, so I didn't hear that. I wanted to make sure. I thought I voted aye, but I was so sorry about that. I don't have any questions. I supported this bill.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? It's been moved by the Alderman from the 4th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we adopt amendments number 1 and 2 to Board Bill 144 as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Alderman from the 4th, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. This is the 30 years of service bill. I believe every one of you voted yes last week. I would ask for your support on this, and with that, I renew my motion.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 4th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we perfect Board Bill number 144 as amended. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Balmer. Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Sanye. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Browning.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Aldridge. President Green.
Aye.
15 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the Alderman from the 4th to perfect Board Bill number 144 as amended. Report of engrossment.
Board Bill 170, 171, 186, 187, 188, 201, 207, 196, 148 as amended, 204, 146, and 174.
And 144 as amended. We just did.
But it's not on third reading.
Okay. Sorry. That was on my thing here. Third reading and final passage of board bills on the consent.
Board Bill 170, 171, 186, 187, 188, 201, 207, and Board Bill 196, 148 as amended, and 204.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to adopt the third reading and final passage of board bills on the consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I move that we adopt the third reading and final passage of board bills consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we adopt the third reading and final passage of board bills on the consent calendar. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Balmer. Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Sanye. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Browning.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Aldridge. President Green.
Aye.
Alderwoman Keys. 14 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the aldermen from the 10th to third read and finally pass the aforementioned bills. Third reading and final passage of board bills.
Board Bill 146, sponsored by Alderman Narayan, an ordinance to amend City of St. Louis revised code so as to permit the Board of Trustees of the Firemen's Retirement System to simultaneously act as the Board of Trustees of the St. Louis Firefighters Retirement Plan, but not until such time as amendments to Missouri Statutes 87.140, 87.145, 87.155, 87.260, and 87.350 have become law to permit the Board of Trustees of the Firemen's Retirement System to simultaneously act as the Board of Trustees of St. Louis Firefighters Retirement Plan containing an effective date.
Alderman from the 4th, you are recognized on the third reading and final passage of Board Bill 146.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I move that we third read and finally pass.
Second.
Board Bill number 146.
It's been moved by the alderman from the 3rd, seconded by the alderman from the 3rd. Was that correct? No.
It clearly was.
I thought so. Seconded by the alderman from the 3rd that we third read and finally pass Board Bill 146. Alderman, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. We had pretty robust discussion about this last week, so I will keep it brief. This is the board bill that permits the Board of Trustees for the Firemen's Retirement System to simultaneously act as the Board of Trustees for the Firefighters Retirement Plan. I've discussed this ad nauseum with each and every one of you, and I know that the firefighters, many of whom are here today, have also discussed this, and I ask for your favorable consideration.
Any further discussion? Alderman from the 2nd.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. It can be a good day for workers with the support and passage of this bill. I have argued and will continue to argue this bill is about putting workers first and putting workers in control of their own financial destiny and their retirement. We have two other retirement systems in the city of St. Louis, which I'm sure you're familiar with, the ERS and the police pension system. I would like to inquire of the alderman of the 3rd ward, if possible, please.
Would the alderman from the 3rd yield to questioning from the alderman from the 2nd?
I would be happy to yield to questionings to my colleague from the 2nd.
Alderman from the 2nd, you may proceed.
Alderman, given my previous statement, are you familiar with the composition makeup of the other two retirements, those Board of Trustee members?
I wouldn't be able to speak specifically in terms of the details of the composition, but I'm aware that those are created underneath ordinance where FRS is created underneath state statute. But I would say there's actually, I think you said there's four pension, if you include FRP, FRS, PRS, and ERS.
Other than firefighter pensions aside, there were two other systems I'm referring to, correct?
Yeah.
Correct. But specifically, the question was around the board composition. Mm-hmm. The board composition of the Police Pension Trustee Board is 9 trustees, 8 are seated, 7 are officers, members, workers. In the ERS, of course, all of those employees represent that system. So there is not a dominant board other than the FRP system, whereby workers aren't in a majority of making decisions for their financial future. Is that true?
I would say if you want to have a discussion around the composition of the board, then we can go ahead and have a conversation
Then bring that board. There's been 9 years. Bring that board bill forward.
FRS's
I've
board
not seen it.
did
I've not
underneath
seen
state
anyone
statute.
stand up for
That's plain and
workers
simple.
in 9 years. So we say, well, we can just fix this board composition or fix this board. The problem is the workers feel a lack of trust and more confidence in the facts and what will be effectuated in Board Bill 146. So I have no further questions. Thank you. I just really wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that workers are in control of their financial destiny and the other retirement systems we have that aren't related to firefighters. Seems like a bit of a disparity to workers, if you ask me. So all folks want at the end of the day is to make a paycheck, contribute to their financial future, and to ensure that there's a safety net, that the best interest at hand is being represented by the workers. Now, last week we had a pretty substantial discussion about what local control is, and it's become a boogeyman phrase. Local control has certainly become the boogeyman. I think we've established whereby FRS is a creature of state law. The original pension system for firefighters was started in like the late 1800s by the state because the city was not protecting those who do the most dangerous work throughout the state. So it's been intertwined, the enabling legislation, for a long, long time. I would note, along the lines of local control being the boogeyman, would the alderman of the 4th Ward please yield for a question?
The alderman from the 4th yield to questioning from the alderman from the 2nd.
Absolutely.
Alderman, you may proceed.
Alderman, who is in control of the fire department? Where does the buck stop?
I think there's probably two different answers there. The chief or
reports
or the mayor.
to the chief reports to the public safety department, and then ultimately the mayor.
Yeah.
Okay. Is the mayor a locally elected official in the city of St. Louis?
Absolutely.
Okay. So it is a fact to say the fire department is in control of the city of St. Louis at a municipal level. The fire department's operations.
Yes. Yes.
Great. I appreciate that. The board of trustees for the old system, the current system, I would argue, of FRS, has 2 representatives of the mayor.
I believe so.
1 representative of the comptroller.
Yes.
2 active firefighters.
2 active and 1 retired.
And one retiree. Those are all local seats, right? There's no bureaucrat in Jeff City or no state official that sits on the board of trustees for FRS.
I mean, I guess if the one of the ex officio members, if someone local decided to place someone, that would be the only way, though.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Alderman. I appreciate that.
For sure.
Just further underscoring here that local control can often be used, if we philosophically disagree, if we have a difference of opinion around a piece of policy, if we're political rivals, we can throw that phrase out and it gets our hair up, right? We get real concerned because we do want to control our own destiny here in the city, right? We certainly do. I mean, one would argue, we're a charter city, so that's great. We have control, and we should, of our operations. It's a little complicated because, again, the system has been created and evolved through state legislation, but without a doubt, we have control of our fire department. So local control is not a concern. This board bill simply states, as I'm going to refer back to my opening statement, we're putting workers in charge of their own financial destiny. That's a powerful phrase. I just want us all to sit with that, and I will close.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Alderman from the 4th, you are recognized to close.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Again, I ask for your favorable consideration on this bill. We've had robust discussion on this. I know that there's been a lot of, frankly, misinformation out there on this bill. And ultimately, as the alderman from the 2nd put forward, this is about supporting workers. This board has been, outspoken about their support of working people, and it's hard to come up with a harder working group of people than the men and women who rush into fires to pull people out. With that, I ask for your favorable consideration and renew my motion.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 4th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we third read and finally pass Board Bill number 146. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Balmer. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Sanye. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Browning.
No.
Just a hand.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Yeah.
Alderwoman Keys.
No contact.
Alderwoman Tyus.
Like you're talking to a person.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Here.
Aye.
Alderman Aldridge. President Green.
Aye.
Alderwoman Keys. 11 aye votes and 3 no votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the Alderman from the 4th to third read and finally pass Board Bill number 146.
Board Bill 174, sponsored by Alderman Aldridge, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan dated November 1st, 2023 for the North Grand Natural Bridge, North Florissant, Cass, Dr. Martin Luther King Drive redevelopment area.
Alderman from the 14th, you are recognized on the third reading and final passage of Board Bill 174.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move for the final passage of Board Bill 174.
Is there a second? It's been moved by the Alderman from the 14th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we third read and finally pass Board Bill number 174. Alderman from the 14th, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Also, we had a long discussion on this piece of legislation last week. Again, this is a redevelopment bill that also contains blight and eminent domain. What I really love about kind of this new model of this piece of legislation that encompasses the 14th Ward and the 11th Ward that is in legislation is historically, especially in the 14th Ward, when it comes to eminent domain, it has been used in an improper way where it displays people. But due to the leadership of residents of St. Louis Place and the JVL Neighborhood Association, Peter Hoffman at Eastern Legal Services, and the leadership of SLDC, we put a lot of protections in this piece of legislation that not only protects residents, but also protects business owners. It also puts in protection so when development happens, which we all want to happen, that our community is not gentrified, such as a 10-year tax abatement for residents to be able to tap into, as well as kind of a community benefits agreement. If there's any development over $1 million, then it's a trigger that allows for a community advisory board. So again, this is a legislation that I filed, but it's truly the community that stepped up in the neighborhood that said, let's slow this down to make sure that we got it right, that it wasn't rushed. We all want development, but we want to make sure it's development that works for the people. And I just want to thank the residents of St. Louis Place, JVL, Peter Hoffman from Eastern Services for making this historic piece of legislation be something that I think could be a model for the whole city of St. Louis.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, it's been moved by the Alderman from the 14th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we third read and finally pass Board Bill 4. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Balmer. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Sanye. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Browning.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Aldridge.
Aye.
President Green,
Aye.
Alderwoman Keys. 14 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the Alderman from the 14th to third read and finally pass Board Bill number 174. Report of finally passed and signed by the President.
Board Bill 170, 171, 186, 187, 188, 201, 207, 196, 148 as amended, 204, 146, and 174.
All other business being suspended, the President shall affix her signature hereto to the end that these may become law. First reading of resolutions in reference to committees.
We have none.
Second reading of resolutions, committee reports, and adoptions.
Report from the HUD Committee, the appointment to the Industrial Development Authorities Board. Mr. Vincent Young and Ms. Pamela Neal.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on Mayor Jones' appointments to the Industrial Development Authority.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we approve Mayor Jones' appointments to the Industrial Development Authority.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we approve Mayor Jones' appointments to the Industrial Development Authority. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman, thank you. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Balmer. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Sanier. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Browning.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Aldridge. Aye. President Green.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Narayan. Alderwoman Keys. 13 aye votes and 1 no vote.
By your vote, you've sustained the motion from the Alderwoman from the 10th to approve Mayor Jones' appointments to the Industrial Development Authority.
The appointment to the Tax Increment Financing Commission. Mr. Philip Clenore, Mr. Spencer Owens, and Mr. Bernard Powderly.
Alderman from the 3rd, you are recognized on Mayor Jones' appointments to the Tax Increment Finance Commission.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we adopt the mayor's or confirm the mayor's appointments to Tax Increment Financing Commission.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 3rd, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we approve Mayor Jones' appointments to the Tax Increment Financing Commission. Any discussion? Seeing none, there's been a request for roll call and a request for previous roll. Hearing no objection, by your vote, you have sustained the motion from the Alderman from the 3rd to approve Mayor Jones' appointments to the Tax Increment Financing Commission.
That's the extent of second reading of resolutions, committee reports, and adoption.
Courtesy resolutions. Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to adopt the courtesy resolution consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we adopt the courtesy resolutions consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we adopt the courtesy resolution consent calendar. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Miscellaneous and unfinished business.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 23, announcements.
Monday, February the 19th, 2024, the office will be closed in honor of President's Day. Tuesday, February the 20th, HUDs will have a committee hearing in the Kennedy Room at 11 a.m. Wednesday, February the 21st, Public Infrastructure and Utilities will have a committee hearing in the Kennedy Room at 3:30 p.m. Friday, February the 23rd, 2024, full board meeting in the chambers at 10 a.m. That's the extent of the announcements.
Any further announcements? Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the committee. Today's Black History Month fact of this month, I bring two to you. First is I want to give her flowers while she's still here. Black history as far as our Beyonce. She is the only person that's actually received the most Grammys. She's received 32 Grammys. And back on January 20th in 2009, Barack Obama became the first African-American president. Just last week, he did, on last Friday, is when he actually, on that day back in 2007, announced his run for president. So happy Black History Month to everybody in the city of St. Louis.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman for the 2nd, are you just standing up? Okay, just checking. Alderwoman from the 6th.
I just want to announce that today from 11 a.m. The Office of New Americans will be sponsoring a Taste of Bosnia, so you can get some lunch here, support a local delicious restaurant, and get some food before the snow comes in. Thank you.
Alderwoman from the 1st.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I wanted to announce that we will be having a public infrastructure and utilities meeting on Wednesday, February 21st at 3:30 p.m. in the Kennedy Room. And I hope the weather doesn't keep people from going to all the neighborhood fish fries tonight. Thanks so much.
Any further announcement? Any further announcements? Seeing none, Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the motion to excuse.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. All members were present this morning.
Good job. Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we adjourn until Friday, February 23rd, 2024.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we adjourn until Friday, February 23rd, 2024. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.